Okay, 4:20 p.m. Eastern Standard, Wednesday, September 18th. Gonna just talk through my thoughts on the Fed cutting 50 basis points today. It was two rate cuts. Market was starting to price in two, but I'm a little bit surprised. Thought we would go with 25 basis points, but the market came in pretty aggressive here. Powell came out and spoke about how the economy is still very strong, yada, yada, yada. Anyhow, that doesn't matter. I think what matters most is reading the tape, seeing how the markets react to that news. And initially, everything made sense, right? Initially, silver spiked higher, gold spiked higher. The markets rallied. I believe at one point the Nasdaq was up 1.5%. Russell was up 1.5%. S&P was up. Um, Everything was up, right? Everything was rallying. Bonds were up. The dollar was down. And what ended up happening is everything reversed at the end of the day. Dollar ends up closing higher, which is really interesting when you think about it because 50 basis points of half the market thought we would be at 25. It's more aggressive. That should be very bearish dollar. And the dollar seemed to have bottomed out here just below $100. The interesting part as well is the yen closed lower. Silver ripped lower right after. Gold did a top wick and then sold off dramatically. It's been shopping in this range now for some time. Really not a good looking chart there. And platinum and palladium sold off. Let's see what else. Bonds are trading lower, which is also surprising given the fact that extra rate cuts should theoretically lead to bonds going up, yields going down. The TLT traded lower. So let's try to make sense of this, right? And talk about what trades make sense since we're focused on trading here. We're still in long on silver. I would like to hedge that with a short on gold if we can get back to this kind of like mid range before the breakout and the breakdown. Somewhere around $2,600, I would like to hedge long silver with short gold. So that's a trade we're waiting on for an entry. We need about a $10 move for us to execute that trade. Other positions I'm seeing that are worthwhile, I am holding on to this 5-year bond long position. I think bonds should have more upside here, but they are trading lower on the day, which is not necessarily a good thing. We're either going to get stopped out or we'll carry this up for a short, small profit. I'm still in long on crude. However, I don't like the fact that we are trading quite a bit lower today. We had a top wick and then a sell off, but we are seemingly finding resistance around $69. So still long crude, may pull the stop up. We did roll the contract recently, so we took about a $9,000 profit on two positions, and we're still in on two more positions. I may move that stop up. I have a feeling everything is going to go sideways for the next couple of days. So Thursday, Friday, we're going to see a lot of sideways chop up and down and really taking a lot of money from traders. I think everything that's happening and playing out today is likely going to reverse tomorrow, and we're going to shake out a lot of these loose hands in the market. So, what do I like? I like hedging long silver with short gold. I like remaining long energies here, which is risk on, but we're also shorting the NASDAQ, which is risk off. So, those hedge each other. If we think gold and silver, crude and NASDAQ, those should theoretically go in opposite directions. Alternatively, that bond trade we're just going to hold on to and see how that shakes out. I also like shorting Aussie dollar or the yen. I don't know if I want to take both of these trades. I believe if we think about dollar, if dollar gets stronger from here, which is completely possible if that was a bottom, the bottom wick here, I would think Aussie sells off and yen sells off. So these are theoretically the trades in the same direction. So I don't know if I enjoyed executing both of them. I think whichever one, and I like the yen a lot more. I think the yen is more set up. We may very well cancel the Aussie dollar trade here. The part that I liked about this trade, if we pull up the chart, we've got this top wick here. We have this kind of double top scenario right here, even really a triple top, and then a sell off every time it's hit. But what I don't like is we have another line that we could trade up to, right up there. So I'm gonna actually cancel that trade. I don't like how that trade looks. It could very well go down from here. We have seen a triple top, but there's also another top here that we could go and retest. So we're going to stay out of that trade. We're going to try to get in on a yen short. I think the dollar is likely to continue higher here, which would mean the yen would go lower. There's no hedge on this trade, but yen is set up from our commitment of traders indexing. A lot of people have pushed this thing up too high, and the speculators are crowded on the long side, so we are going to go short on that trade. I would also call this a news failure day, since yen should theoretically have closed higher and it closed lower. There was also some bullish yen news earlier, or I believe last night. And we've got 2 additional days, I think, inflation reports in Japan. Japan's talking about cutting interest rates in the near future, or sorry, raising interest rates in the future. So that would theoretically be bearish for the yen as well. So I think the yen here is a good spot for us to short. And we're also looking at really like a double top. If we pull this chart up, we're looking at a double top right here. And that line might actually trade further back. Yeah, I mean, we're really looking at a triple top, right? We have top, top, top here, and then a sell off. So I like how that looks for us to go short on the yen at the price that we're at. There's a triple top scenario. There's a reversal, what I would call a news failure on the yen. I think that's a trade that just makes sense for our system. So we're going to take the yen trade if we can get it executed. We are in on silver long. We're going to try to short gold. We're in on crude long, and we're also hedging that with short on the NASDAQ. Short on the NASDAQ. NASDAQ's crowded on the long side from speculators, and we saw a news failure today. 50 basis points should have rocketed the markets like it did initially, but they sold off and closed lower. So to me, that's a news failure. That indicates that the NASDAQ's having a tough time breaking out any further than the high of today. So we put our stop right above this Fibonacci retracement, which takes out that previous high, kind of right shoulder here. And yeah, we're going to see if this thing chops lower. We'll adjust our stops if it does. If not, we'll get stopped out. But crude will likely be ripping higher if the NASDAQ ends up going up. They're both risk on assets. Same thing with silver here. We have a pretty wide stop. We're in at $28. I have a price target of north of $32. We saw gold hit an all time high today, which is good, but I don't like the fact that that top wicked and sold off dramatically. To me, that shows very weak signaling, and especially given that we had an extra rate cut, we had 2 rate cuts, that should have caused gold to really rip higher and maintain that level of high. And instead, we had a news failure there as well, where gold should have been higher and it actually closed lower on the day. It closed red. So that's not good. I think gold is likely to trade lower here. We just want to get an entry point that makes sense because I think there's going to be a lot of sideways chop the next couple of days before the market really picks a direction to play out. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at this bond trade. We're looking at silver hedged with short gold. We're looking at crude oil long hedged with short NASDAQ. Those are trades that are just set up and make sense. And we're looking at the yen as an entirely separate trade to go short here. So that's what we're looking at. I will talk to you guys probably on Friday, and then we'll have our Sunday review of the markets and look at what trades make sense to take. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk soon.